All right, guys. So I hope you are all doing well. The topic that I want to review for you today is what is the geologic timescale? So we've already learned about fossils and we've learned about how scientists use DNA and common structures and other techniques to show that certain species are related to one another or have evolved from a common ancestor. But now we want to take a look at the big picture, what has been happening on Earth since it began, and at what points in time did different species start to appear on Earth. So for this lesson, we have two vocabulary words. The first is geologic timescale. That's what we're going to talk about today, as well as an era. What is an era? So before we do that, just a quick image to show you guys. This is a fossil of a horseshoe crab, and this picture shows what the horseshoe crab looks like today. So the interesting thing when we look back at fossils is that sometimes the species look pretty similar to what they look like today. Other times they look completely different and have evolved quite a bit since they first appeared on Earth. The horseshoe crab has been around for millions of years, and yet looking at what it looked like before, comparing it to what it looks like today, it really hasn't changed all that much. Okay, so this is what I mean when I say geologic timescale. Let's take a look at the whole history of Earth. So Earth was formed 4.6 billion years ago. So if we write that out with zeros, it's a lot of zeros. 4.6 billion. To put that into perspective, humans have only been on the planet for the last 5 or 7 million years. This is billion years. So I really like this picture over here. It says geologic time up till today. This picture is in your book, so definitely take a look at it. But what I like is that here it is representing the whole history of Earth, all 4.6 billion years, in a pie chart. So when we break down Earth's history, we're going to be talking about 4 smaller parts and then what happened on Earth during those smaller parts. So if you take a look down here, these are the 4 names of the eras or pieces of time that we're going to talk about. Most of Earth's history, as you can see in blue, from the time Earth was formed until the end of this first era, the Precambrian time, most of that time is in this first era. And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the chapter itself. But on Earth at that time, we were just starting to see life emerge. And when I say life, we're talking about single-celled organisms. Nothing too complicated, but really just, again, the very, very beginnings of life on the Earth. So if you take a look here, this chunk of time, which is pretty small compared to the Precambrian time, is where we're starting to see more complex plants and animals, mammals, reptiles appear on the Earth. So after the Precambrian time comes the Paleozoic era, then the Mesozoic era in green, that's the age of the reptiles, that's where the dinosaurs were on Earth. And then this tiny orange piece is called the Cenozoic era. So that is our current era. Right now, we live in the Cenozoic era. And again, humans only came along just at the very end here in the last 5 to 7 million years. So there was a lot happening on Earth before we even came into the picture. All right, so before I showed you what the geologic timescale or Earth's history timeline looks like in a circle, this is another way that we can show the different eras and periods of time that passed in Earth history. So as you can see, we can break down history into different categories. We have eons, which are the longest, then eras, a little bit shorter, periods, even shorter, and epochs, the shortest. For this lesson, I only want you to focus on the name of these eras. That's how we're going to divide Earth's history. And the red part at the bottom, that is the Precambrian time, even though it doesn't say it right here. So we have the Precambrian time, the Paleozoic era, the Mesozoic era, and then today, the Cenozoic era. And humans were coming into play around here. So again, the geologic timescale is a way that scientists take Earth's very long history and make it into a timeline that has smaller parts so we can analyze what was happening during each era on Earth. So as you read the chapter, we're going to be talking about, again, what specific living things were starting to arise or be dominant during each era. So take a look at your books so that we can continue with that.